morning, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here to talk to such an illustrious group and in such an incredibly inventive field as we are all discussing this week. Some of the invention and some of the innovation is really extraordinary. And I would tell you that I've come from Wall Street. I'm not from this community. I joined Avellino last year, and it's been an extraordinary experience. But there are parallels, interestingly, between what we're doing in this industry and what's happening in New York and the financial centers around the world. All of those innovations in finance have been driven by data. So I was extremely impressed by the talk just now by Michael Chang, because you are at the same place, we're all at the same place now to understand how we can leverage data in an extraordinarily powerful way. 30 years ago, when the government issued a treasury bond, the 5 dealers on Wall Street would buy all of it and sell it to us with a huge markup. And when someone said, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to actually publish those prices live. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, Barclays, all threw up their hands in horror, said, no, we're not sharing our data. You mustn't, we will lose our margin. Well, that went ahead and data was published anyway. And the response was actually completely counterintuitive. The institutions that were buying those instruments suddenly had visibility into what was previously an opaque market. And the financial markets took off. And the beneficiaries actually were the primary dealers who didn't want to share their data originally, but then realized that actually we could create a fantastic financial economy and create invention using shared data, innovation, and deep analytics of what is out in the market to look for opportunity, to finely tune a marketplace that is extremely efficient and has adopted big data as its core. 5 years ago, the banks started to say data is the new oil. And here in this industry, we have the same opportunity. There are a lot of people collecting data, and some of them don't want to, don't really understand how they're going to leverage it. Where does it really take value? So we believe that in precision medicine, which is a term based on aggregating data, targeting an individual patient rather than generic outcomes, there is a tremendous opportunity for this community to come together and share, which is exactly what Michael was talking about earlier. There is data. The question is, how do you normalize it, aggregate it, provide easy ways to publish it and contribute to it? And so I've spent the last 30 years with managing systems and building systems to integrate data from sometimes competition, but into sometimes consortiums that actually create incredible value by combining their data and creating marketplaces that are really easy for people to participate in. And it's a very, very similar parallel here. It's not the New York Stock Exchange, it's not Reuters, but you can look at those institutions as individual, independent organizations, almost like Switzerland, without an angle, but having the ability to bring together data. And that is what we've been doing actually over here at Avellino. So if you take those industries that have started to use data and start to think about how can we use it in healthcare, there's a lot of very interesting parallels. As you may know, that use of genetic data and the foundation of our business has always been about genetics. What can we learn from genetics? What's in our system? What's in our genetic makeup that is trying to tell us something about us? And the first space that we worked in was in eye care. Certainly, as you know, we've been in this space for a long time. We've done over 1 million tests and diagnosis on patients around the world, starting with corneal dystrophy and then into keratoconus, where we are making great strides and launching additional products with a much more sophisticated range of genes that we're federating into a single solution. And this year, we've been working on glaucoma. Next year, early in Q2, we'll be launching the first global diagnostic for glaucoma, which we're super excited about. None of that journey could have been carried out without participation from the industry, from this community. And we've had fantastic feedback so that we are collaborating with the industry to make sure that we bring the right products to the right people at the right time. So it's been a very, very consistent focus on data mining and understanding how to analyze data from genetics. And as I said, this year we'll be launching our new product, our latest product in going after glaucoma. This is a polygenic risk score system, so it's a very sophisticated look at the ethnicity and the genetic makeup of an individual. They're all different from around the world. And so we can create a very telling analytic algorithm-driven solution, which can talk about the risk of glaucoma in a particular patient, and then look after ongoing treatment, make sure that treatment decisions are informed by this data that is only part of the treatment cycle, because it goes in company with all the other things that are done to measure and understand a patient's outcome. So the next step really is to think about how do we take all that experience that we have in genetics. First of all, we built the environment to get that data together. So we know how to normalize it, we know how to manage it, we know how to protect it. But we're now looking at the next step, which will be to aggregate data from other sources. We already aggregate genetic data from around the world, from large sources globally, and we mix that into a common formula for us with a common way to describe it. And some of the things Michael was talking about, we've been doing for quite a while. The need to normalize and aggregate to make this data easy to work with is something we've had an extreme focus on. We want to take all the lessons from traditional medicine, all of the ways in which the industry has trained itself to learn how to analyze an individual patient by observing that individual, and then aggregate what is now a very, very truly innovative industry, bringing forward research and data that we can use to really form a detailed version of the overall condition that is being looked at, and then to go into the future to bring all that together and merge it with genetic data. And that is where this thing really takes off. So as Michael was saying, it was just the moment in time. I would say capital markets were here 30 years ago, but now we can see it playing out again in real time right now, because that genetic combination with all the data that's coming from instrumentation that's out in the field, we're talking to a large number of participants, all of whom have captured that data in their own way. How are we going to bring that together and create new solutions and new innovations for diagnostics and therapeutics going forward? Because the world is driven entirely by data, and data is the new oil for this industry, just as it has been for everyone else. So I think what we get from data is a much better analysis. Certainly if we're applying a therapeutic, it may work well in some cases, it may not work in others, and it may actually harm individuals in the wrong cases. So if we can combine all of the information that surrounds that individual, including your zip code where you live is an important factor, just as your genetic code, how you're built. Those two things in combination have a bearing on what is likely to be the best outcome treatment for an individual. And so as we can compile all the data that could possibly get implemented into a single common database, we can then start to use AI and machine learning really to drive results as partners in the industry. So we believe that this is a real valuable proposition to create this engine where everyone can participate, everyone can contribute, and then we can start to get real results out into the marketplace. And so we see our role as aggregating the genetics of people from around the world. We do this obviously in ophthalmology. We also do it in infectious diseases. In fact, we use the same PCR testing that we use for the eye diagnostics that we do to work with skilled nursing facilities across California for COVID identification for people at risk. And we've done millions and millions of tests in the last 2 years. All of that money that's been generated from that has been contributed directly into the analytics and the therapeutics even that we're working on. We do have an idea. We've been working for 4 years on a drop-based siRNA solution which will silence the genes that cause some of the blindness and the dystrophies that we're seeing. So we're looking at the full circle of what can we do with data, both in diagnosis and also in predictive medicine and also in actual therapeutic instances. So we're on a very exciting journey, and we're very, very happy to be with you on this journey because we see that there is a real opportunity for this community to come together in a secure environment to share data, not necessarily putting data into a central database. Very often it will be federated. In other words, we take the analytic to the data, not the data to the analytics, so that people can protect and secure their own information, which in certain countries is really important to them. But it's a multimodal idea. Any data, whether it's electronic data, as Michael said, coming from instrumentation or diagnostics, That combination is a really powerful outcome for the analytics that we think are going to feed this industry going forward. The future of medicine, we really do believe, is mathematics. That combination of your knowledge and the inventions that are going on and the ability to access a trusted database of reliable and agnostic data, I think will really greatly ease the path forward for anyone looking to invent solutions which will ultimately solve problems for individual patients. And the more we do, the more that data is generated, the bigger the flywheel effect of gathering more and more precision. We're using our data as well, not just for the eye, we're using it for an oncology initiative, and that is the means to look for a digital signature within the genetic makeup of an individual to predict the likelihood and type of cancer that might be forming in an individual patient, actually before the cancer cells are seen in blood. And we're using just data to make that analysis. We're working very hard to prove that that is working, and the results have been pretty extraordinary. So we're in it for the long run on the data side of this whole program, and we'd love to partner with you, talk to you about how that we might participate with you on some of your journeys. Maybe we can help you provide data that you need for your own innovations. And so you should look at Avellino. We're in this community with Avogen, and you see us as a diagnostic for glaucoma or for keratoconus. We are very proud of our achievements in that space because we are using our own platform to generate those results. And we know that platform is becoming more and more powerful and available to the community as a whole. So we're looking forward to partner with you so that we can be involved in processes that can screen, detect, diagnose disease or mutations in the system as early as we possibly can. And then we're also working on the therapeutics with, I think, great promise, all data-driven. So Michael Chang was the perfect setup for this conversation because this is the moment to start to work together and collaborate to generate the engine for data that will change the way the world works. Thank you.